Every morning, the gifts kept appearing. A coin, a button, a tiny silver bead. Strange little objects sitting quietly outside the front door. At first, it felt like a prank. No one in the neighborhood admitted leaving them there, and every morning brought something new. But then he noticed the crow. Every time he opened the door, the same black bird sat nearby, silently watching. And suddenly, the gifts didn't feel random anymore. The objects were always placed carefully in the exact same spot. Crows notice things most animals ignore: bottle caps, keys, coins, anything bright enough to stand out. To them, shiny objects are irresistible. Even a small reflection can catch their attention from high above. But collecting them is only part of the mystery, because sometimes crows don't keep the objects for themselves. Sometimes they leave them behind for humans, and that's where scientists became curious. The boy started leaving food outside each day, just a few peanuts placed near the porch. At first, the crow stayed far away, watching carefully from a safe distance, because crows don't trust humans easily. Trust has to be earned slowly, but eventually, the crow came closer, and the distance between them slowly disappeared. Scientists discovered something incredible. Crows can remember human faces for years, and they remember who treated them badly. Some crows even warn others about dangerous humans, but they also remember kindness. A person who feeds them regularly becomes familiar, which means this crow may have been watching him all along, learning whether he could be trusted. Then one morning, something changed. Beside the peanuts sat a tiny silver object. The crow had left something behind. Not food, not trash, but a gift. And after that, more gifts appeared. Buttons, beads, tiny pieces of metal. The crow kept coming back, not because it needed food anymore, but because a connection had formed. Scientists still debate why crows do this. No one knows exactly what the gifts truly mean. Maybe it's social bonding. Crows naturally form long-term relationships in the wild. Or maybe it's their version of gratitude, a quiet way of responding to kindness. Whatever the reason, once they trust you, they rarely forget. Scientists once gave a crow an impossible problem. Inside a tall container was water with food floating just out of reach. At first, the crow couldn't reach it. Its beak wasn't long enough, no matter how hard it tried. Then the crow started dropping stones into the water. One by one, the water slowly began to rise. The crow solved the puzzle completely on its own. And suddenly, the gifts humans received from crows felt far more intentional. But there's one detail people find unsettling. Crows are always watching. They share information with each other. One crow's warning can spread quickly, and they remember faces for years, even faces they haven't seen in a very long time, meaning a crow you've never met may already know who you are, and that thought makes people uncomfortable. Maybe the gifts were never about the objects, not the coins, not the buttons, not the shiny metal. Maybe they were about remembering kindness, because even wild creatures can form connections, sometimes stronger than we expect. At first, it just looks like junk: a tiny bottle cap, a coin, a dull little piece of metal left quietly on a doorstep. But something intelligent chose to leave it there. The object may have been carried across rooftops and streets just to reach this moment. And somehow, that changes its meaning. Because the moment a wild animal chooses to remember you, it stops feeling random. Sometimes meaning is carried in something small, and sometimes even a tiny gift can say more than words ever could.